Hello everyone. Today we are going to do chapter number 13, that is light, from your NCERT chapter. So before I go into the details of the chapter light, tell me, during the daylight we see a lot of objects around us, right? Like maybe rivers, trees, plants, chairs, people, a lot of things around us, everything that we see in our home, outside our home, on in the sky we see the clouds, rainbows, birds flying. At night we are able to see moon and stars, right? So have you ever thought that how seeing is made possible? What makes things visible to us? Suppose if you are in a dark room, then will you be able to see objects around you? Can you see objects around you when it is in a dark room, when there is no source of light? No, we don't see anything when we are in a dark room. Why? Why don't we see anything when we are in a dark room? You need to think that. Suppose I give you a torch and you put the torchlight on an object in that dark room. Will you be able to see that object? Yes, now you'll be able to see the object. So, what is the reason? What makes things visible or objects visible to us? So, there is a phenomena which is responsible for the visibility of the objects around us, and that phenomena is called reflection of light. Okay, so when light falls on an object, it gets reflected and it gets reflected back and it reaches our eye. That reflected light that reaches our eye makes things visible to us. All right, clear? So we will get into the details of reflection of light. So, reflection light. What is reflection of light? You may have studied a bit in your class 7 about reflection. So reflection of light is basically bouncing back of the light, bouncing back of the light into the same medium on striking a surface. Okay. Now, every surface can be of two types. The surface can be a regular surface, or an irregular surface. When we talk about a regular surface, I basically mean a smooth, highly polished, smooth, plain, we can say plain, smooth, highly polished surface. Okay, something like a mirror. And when we talk about irregular surface, it can be any surface that you see, any object that you see around you. They may not be plain, they may not be smooth, they may not be highly polished. So any object can be an irregular surface. Based on what kind of surface light is falling, there are two types of reflection. So, what are the two types of reflection? Reflection can be categorized into two types. One is regular reflection, and the other is irregular reflection. It is also known as diffused reflection. Okay, so let us see how does a regular reflection or an irregular reflection occurs. So for regular reflection, we will take a mirror. It's a smooth, highly polished surface. So we'll draw it like that. Okay. Now we will draw a normal. What is a normal? Normal is a perpendicular drawn to a surface. So let us draw a normal. So it's a perpendicular drawn to a surface. Now, what are we going to do? We are going to take an incident ray. So this is the light ray which is incident like this. Okay. Now, what will happen? This is the incident ray. What is the definition of reflection? Bouncing back of the light ray into the same medium. So it will bounce back into the same medium like this. Okay, so what are these things? This is your incident ray, incident ray. This is your reflected ray. Okay, this is your normal. This is the plane mirror. All right, now you see in this case the angle of incidence. This is the angle of incidence, and this is the angle of reflection. Now, what is angle of incidence and angle of reflection? Let us write them. Angle of incidence. Angle of reflection. Angle of incidence is that angle which the incident ray makes with the normal. Okay, so this is my incident ray, and the angle which this incident ray is making with this normal is the angle of incidence. Okay, same way, angle of reflection is the angle which the reflected ray makes with the normal. Remember these 2 points. So this is my reflected ray, and the angle which this reflected ray makes with the normal is this angle R. This is not the angle of reflection. This is not the angle of incidence. It is angle of incidence will always be between the incident ray and the normal. Angle of reflection will always be between the reflected ray and the normal. Okay. So technical terms are clear to all of you, I hope. So if I draw multiple incident rays like this, suppose we'll take few parallel incident rays. So in the regular reflection, all these reflected rays are going to reflect back, and the reflected rays will be parallel too. So this is an example of regular reflection. Now, when we talk about irregular reflection, we just take any object which has a rough surface. So you see I've drawn a rough surface over here. It's not a smooth, highly polished surface. Now, when light falls on these surfaces, suppose I'll take, so sorry, suppose I'm taking multiple incident rays falling on such surface. So again in this case reflection will definitely occur. So light rays are going to get reflected. But you will observe that the reflected rays are not parallel to each other. Unlike in regular reflection, you can see that all the reflected rays are parallel to each other. But in case of irregular reflection or diffused reflection, the reflected rays are not parallel to each other. Okay, so such kind of reflection where the light rays after reflecting are not parallel to each other, and when light rays falls, this occurs when light rays falls on a rough irregular surface, then such a reflection occurs, and this is known as a diffused or irregular reflection. Is that clear to all of you? Okay, so now I will enter into another very important topic, that is laws of reflection. There is a set of law that reflection of light follows. And what is that? We have two laws. Okay, let us go back to our book. You see, 13.2 laws of reflection. So they have showed the laws of reflection with the help of an activity 13.1. In this activity, you can see we have taken over here a glass, a plain mirror. It looks like a plain mirror. Okay, and then we have taken a paper which has a very narrow thin slit, and then over here there is a torch. We allow the torch light to pass through this thin slit. And it is supposed that a single light ray is passing over here. Can you see this light ray going over here? Now when it falls on this plain smooth surface, which is a mirror over here, you see it reflects back into the same medium. So this is called reflection of light. Now reflection of light occurs in accordance with some laws. So what are those laws? Here you can see an object over here. Here you see figure 3.13.3. You see this is the plane mirror which we have taken. This is the incident ray, this is the reflected ray, and this is the normal. This is the angle which the incident ray makes with the normal, and this is the angle which the reflected ray makes with the normal. So this is angle of incidence and this is angle of reflection. Now according to the laws of reflection, angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. So our very first law of reflection says that number one, angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. Okay, and the another law of reflection is the incident ray, the reflected ray, and the normal at the point of incidence all lie on the same plane. So to understand the second law, let us go back to our book. You see this is a plane, right? Now on this plane, you see the incident ray is also on this plane, the normal is also on this plane, and the reflected ray is also on this particular plane. Okay, so there are two laws of reflection. The first law says that angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. And the second one says that the incident ray, the reflected ray, and the normal all lie on the same plane. Clear, everyone? So the laws of reflection is clear to everyone. The two laws of reflection is clear to everyone. Okay. Now we will see the book. We have already discussed regular and irregular reflection, right? So let us see in the book. Here you see they have shown, this is the example of irregular reflection. Irregular reflection. You can see, though the incident rays are all parallel on this rough surface, still the reflected rays are all in a diffused manner. They are not parallelly reflecting, and that is why irregular reflection is also called diffused reflection. Okay, diffused reflection. Now let us see regular reflection. This is a regular reflection which takes place in mirror, which is a highly smooth polished surface. You see the incident rays are parallel to each other and the reflected rays are parallel too. So this is the basic difference between a regular reflection and an irregular reflection. A regular reflection takes place on a smooth, highly polished surface like mirror, whereas irregular reflection can occur from any surface which has irregularities. Okay, when all parallel rays reflected from a rough surface or irregular surface are not parallel, then the reflection is known as diffused or irregular reflection. And when the reflected rays are parallel, then it is known as a regular reflection. Okay, so why these rays, reflected rays, are not parallel in case of irregular reflection? It is not because of the failure of the laws of reflection. Laws of reflection is true for both the cases. In case of a regular reflection, they will follow the laws of reflection. Remember everyone, there is a question from here. Does irregular reflection follows the laws of reflection? Yes, they do. Okay, they follow the laws of reflection. They follow the laws of reflection. Then why are these rays not parallel to each other? The reason is the irregularities. It is caused by the irregularities in the reflecting surface, like a cardboard or a paper, which surface you, it looks smooth, but it is actually not smooth and has a lot of irregularities. I hope that point is clear. So these are the differences between regular and irregular reflection. Now we will see, before going into multiple images, we will see how an image is formed in regular reflection, image formation. Okay, so let us see that. Let me take a fresh page for that. And let's take a mirror like this. Whenever you're drawing a mirror, make sure you show that it's a polished surface like this. This is the representation of a mirror. Now, suppose I'll take a light ray coming from an object. So let us first consider a point object. So this is a point object. Let me give the heading for this. Image formation of a point object. Students, in light, the most important thing are these ray diagrams. So you must understand how to draw them. Okay. Image formation of a point object. Sorry. Point object. So here I have considered this to be a point object. Now I'm taking rays coming from here. Suppose I take two rays. You can take any number of rays, but for an image formation, a minimum of two rays is required. Okay, we will draw a normal like this, and the ray is reflected like this. All right, now I'll take another ray, suppose like this. Again, we'll draw a normal. And again, this ray will be reflected back like this. Make sure that the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. Now, these two are the incident rays, as you can see. These two are the incident rays, this one and this one. And these two are the reflected rays. Can you see the two reflected rays? Are they going to meet anywhere? No, they are not going to meet anywhere. So what are we going to do? We will produce them backwards. Okay, so let us produce them backwards. Please use a scale and a pencil while you're doing the ray diagram. Mine, I'm doing it roughly. It may be a bit tilted here and there. So you see the two rays are meeting at this particular point. At this particular point. So this is the object, that is, name the object A. And this is the image of the object A dash. All right. So this was the object and this is the image. You see, the distance of the object from the mirror is equal to the distance of the image from the mirror. So property number one, whenever an image is formed from a plane mirror, the distance of object from mirror is equal to the distance of image from the mirror. Suppose if you move the object, suppose initially the object is 5 centimeter from the mirror. This is how much? Suppose it is 5 centimeter from the mirror. Image will also be 5 centimeter behind the mirror. All right. Suppose if you move the object 2 centimeter away from the mirror. So now the object is 2 centimeter away from the mirror. That is, now the distance of the object from the mirror is 7 centimeter. So the image will also move 2 centimeter away from the mirror, and now the distance of the image from the mirror will also be 7 centimeter. Okay, I hope this first property for the image formation in a plane mirror is clear to all of you. The distance of the image from the mirror will be equal to the distance of the object from the mirror. The second thing is that you see these two rays are not actually meeting. We made them meet by virtually extending them backward. Then such an image is called virtual image. And virtual images, they cannot be obtained on screen. In a virtual image, the rays do not meet actually. Like you can say the reflected rays are not meeting in real. We have extended them or produced them backwards to make them meet at a point. And also another point, that virtual images are always erect. You can say erect, you can also say upright. That is why when you see yourself in the mirror, you see an upright image of yourself, right? So you can try this activity with yourself. Just stand in front of the mirror and you see the image formed of you in the mirror is your reflection in the mirror will be of the same size as you. If you go back, the image will also go back, and also it is upright in nature. So these are few properties of image formed by a plane mirror. Okay, so this was image formation of a point object. I want to show you image formation of an extended object. So let us see that. And then we'll go back to our NCERT book. Okay. Image formation of an extended object. Let us take the mirror like this time. We stand in front of the mirror, so let us take it like this. Okay. And let us draw an extended object. You can draw anything, anyway, like this. Suppose I draw it like this. You can draw it straight, no harm. It's just an example. Now, I'll take two rays. Since it's an extended object, so there are 2 points of this extended object. This is one point and this is another point. So I will be taking two rays from point A and two rays from point B. Okay, so let us take one by one. From A, I'm taking two rays. First ray, this is the incident ray, and this is suppose the reflected ray. Same way, we take another incident ray, and suppose this is the reflected ray. Okay, now if we extend these reflected rays backwards, again I'm telling my figure may not be ekdam exact because I'm not using scale pencil over here. Okay, so we know that the object from the mirror is same as the image from the mirror. So somewhere here the image will be formed. Okay, so we'll extend it back. Use scale and pencil for measurements. So you see the image of point A is formed over here, A dash. Okay. Now we will take from B. Again, we'll take two rays from B. One incident ray, reflected ray. Again, take another ray. Suppose here, incident ray and reflected ray. Okay. Now again, if you produce them backward, you will see just produce them backward. So at this point, your B dash, image of your B dash is formed. So you see what is the properties what you are able to observe over here. So number one, image distance from the mirror is same as the object distance. Image distance from the mirror is same as object distance. The second thing is the rays are not actually meeting. This ray, if you extend them, any of these rays are not actually meeting. The reflected rays are not actually meeting. We are producing them backward to make them meet. So the kind of image that is formed is virtual. Virtual images are always erect or upright. And also another thing, you can see that the size of the object and size of the image is same. Object size and image size is same. All right. So when you see yourself in a mirror, what do you see? A bigger version of you or a smaller version of you or same size of you? You see the same size of yourself, right? So the object size and the image size when reflecting from a plane mirror is equal. Is that clear to everyone? Another property of image formation from a plane mirror that I want to discuss with you is these images are laterally inverted. Laterally inverted. Now, what do you mean by laterally inverted, or what do you mean by lateral inversion? Lateral inversion means that your left side will appear right and your right side will appear left in the image of the mirror. When you stand in front of the mirror, just try raising your right hand. In the mirror, you will see that the image is raising the left hand. It looks like that the image is raising the left hand. If you raise your right hand, you see that the image is raising your left hand. And if you raise the left hand, you see that your image is raising a right hand. So right appears left, left appears right. This phenomena is called lateral inversion. Okay, because of this phenomena, if you see the alphabet, suppose this extended object, I make it like a P. So P will be formed like this, laterally inverted. Or suppose if it's a B, so B will look like this, laterally inverted. Okay, so this is the lateral inversion. You must have seen in ambulance, the alphabets are laterally, in the ambulance you see the alphabets are written laterally inverted. Why is it written laterally inverted? Because the person who is ahead of the ambulance, when they see that ambulance is coming from the back side, they see in the rear view, they will be able to see the correct spelling of the ambulance, right? That is why on the ambulance it is written in laterally inverted manner, so that when you see in the mirror, they again get laterally inverted and they come in their original form. And then you can make out, okay, there is an ambulance at the back and we need to give space for the ambulance to go. All right. So these are the properties for an image that is formed by a plane mirror. Now let us go back to our book. You see, they have discussed the same properties. Image is erect or upside down. It is just now we saw that the image formed by a plane mirror is erect. Okay. Was it the same size as the object? Yes, it was the same size as the object. Did the image appear at the same distance behind the mirror as the object was from it? Yes, the image and the object were behind the mirror. The image distance behind the mirror was equal to the object distance in front of the mirror. Could it be obtained on screen? No, we cannot obtain it on screen. Why? Because the image formed is a virtual image. Only real images can be obtained on screen. Is that clear to all of you? All the questions answered? Now, let us see. Reflected light can again be reflected. This results in the phenomena of multiple images. Okay, so let us read through a little bit. Recall the last time you visited a hairdresser. She or he makes you sit in front of the mirror. After your haircut is complete, she or he holds a mirror behind you to show you how the hair has been cut. Yes, you all must have experienced this, right? So, what happens after that? Can you explain how can you see the back of your head at the hairdresser's shop? It is because two plane mirrors are, see, this is one plane mirror and this is another plane mirror. So you see there are two plane mirrors and there is reflection occurring. So because of this reflection, multiple images are being formed. Okay, of a single image, there can be multiple images. Okay, same this we can implement in periscopes too. So we will see periscopes. How does periscopes work? You must have done an activity of periscope in class 6. So in this periscope, what we do, we make use of two plane mirrors, and then we put objects inside that, and then you see what happens. That periscopes, we don't put objects inside that, in front of that, and then you can see the reflection of that object in that periscope from the submarines. So I'll be showing you this image diagram, don't worry. Let us see that actually. Image formation in a periscope. Okay, so first of all, how does a periscope look like? You see, there's something somewhat like this. These periscopes are usually used in submarines to see what is any obstruction above the sea level or to detect enemy above the sea level. So two plane mirrors are kept like this, one plane mirror and the other plane mirror. Okay, that is how do we signify mirrors, like this, mirror. Now suppose there is an object over here. Let this be an object. So a light ray is coming from that object and falling on this mirror like this. Okay. So it is going to get reflected and fall on this mirror. Again, it is going to get reflected and go like this. So you see this object from here. If you're sitting here, you can see the image of this object. So you may be inside the submarine, under the sea. Still, you can see what is there above the sea. Whether it is an enemy or there is an obstruction, you can see with the help of a periscope. Okay, so you see the same light is getting reflected multiple times. So this is nothing but multiple reflection. Okay, a similar phenomena is also observed in a device called kaleidoscope. Okay, so how does a kaleidoscope look like? In a kaleidoscope, we take three plane mirrors and then we incline them. We put them three plane mirrors. Suppose this is one plane mirror, and then we take another plane mirror. Sorry. And then we take another plane mirror, the third one, and we arrange them at an angle, suppose 60 degree, 60 degree, 60 degree to each other. And then some colorful pieces are kept at one end of the kaleidoscope, that is blocked, and the other end you can see through. And you see, as you turn the kaleidoscope, different beautiful colorful patterns will be formed, right? So why is it happening? What is the phenomena that is responsible for this? That is multiple reflection. Okay, so let us go back. You see kaleidoscope over here. See the construction of a kaleidoscope. See how they are constructing a kaleidoscope. You can do that at your home and see for yourself. So again, kaleidoscope, what is responsible for this colorful images formed in a kaleidoscope is because of multiple reflection. Okay, clear everyone? So since we have done multiple reflection, let us talk a little bit more about it. Let us understand a bit more detail about it. You all must have gone to a parlor or a salon, and you see in most parlors and salon, they have plane mirrors placed at two ends and they are parallel to each other. So when you sit in front of one of the plane mirror, you see infinite number of images formed of yourself, right? So how is this possible? So here, let me explain you how can we see infinite number of images when we sit between two plane mirrors kept parallel to each other. Suppose this is one plane mirror and this is another plane mirror. You can clearly see that they are placed parallel to each other, and if an object is in between, this object see infinite number of images. Infinite number of images. Why is it happening? Again, the phenomena which we have studied, multiple reflections. Okay, so here, if you want to calculate how many number of images are formed, we want to calculate the number of images formed when two plane mirrors are kept inclined to each other. How are we going to find that? So there's a formula. The formula is n is equals to 360 by theta minus 1. What is n? N is the number of images. What is theta? The angle of inclination between the two mirrors. So now you put the formula in this one. So if you see, if you want to calculate the number of images over here, so n is equals to 360 by theta minus 1. Now here the two plane mirrors are placed parallel, right? So when they are placed parallel, the angle between them is 0 degree. So if you divide 360 by 0 minus 1, anything when you divide it by 0 is undefined. Undefined means infinite number of images. Infinity. Infinite number of images will be formed. Now you know why you get infinite number of images when you sit in the salon or a parlor between two plain parallel mirrors. Okay. So suppose now we place these two plane mirrors 90-degree to each other. Somewhat like this. Okay. Now you see, if an object is placed in between them, how many number of images will be formed? So again, n is equals to 360 by theta minus 1. What is theta in this case? In this case, theta is 90-degree because they are placed perpendicular to each other. So 360 by 90 minus 1, which is 4 minus 1, that is 3. So how many images will be formed? 3 images. So in this way, you can find for any particular angle of inclination, you can find what will be the number of images formed. Is it clear to all of you? Okay, now let us go back to our book. So that's all for the ray diagrams and image formation, properties of image. Now we are going to see about our eye. What is inside our eye? So you can see over here, this is a ray diagram. This is a diagram. This is a figure, diagrammatic representation of human eye. So in this diagrammatic representation, what are the things you can observe? You see there is a ciliary muscle. This one is a ciliary muscle. Then we have the iris. We have the lens. Okay, what kind of lens do we have in our eye? It's a convex lens, right? Cornea retina, and this is the optic nerve. So you all should know this labeled diagram because you may be asked to draw or label it in your school examination. Okay. So this is important, firstly. And secondly, what is important is to know the functions of each part of the eye. What is this function of a ciliary muscle? What is the function of iris? What does a lens do? What is cornea? What is the function of retina? What is the function of optic nerve? All this should be clear to us. So let us see one by one. Here, when we see things only when light is coming from them, that enters our eye. Eye is one of the most important sense organs. It is therefore very important to understand its structures and working. The eye has a roughly spherical shape. You can see the outer coat of the eye is white. Okay. It is tough so that it can protect the interior eye from accidents. Its transparent front part is called, what is the transparent front part called? The cornea. So you see this first part of the eye, this transparent first part of the eye, which is represented in the diagram as a light pink color, this transparent first part of the eye is called cornea. Okay. And what does a cornea do? A cornea protects the interior parts of the eye. It protects the interior parts of the eye from accidents or from any dust entering into our eye. Okay. Now, behind the cornea, we find a dark muscular structure. You can see this dark muscular structure behind the cornea. That is the iris. Iris is, there is a small opening that is called pupil. So in this iris, the small opening that you can see in between, that is the pupil. Now the size of the pupil is controlled by the iris. Right. Size of the pupil is controlled by the iris, right? What is the other function of the iris? The iris is that part of the eye that gives it a distinctive color. So also the color of the eye is responsible. What is responsible for the color of the eye? The iris. That means when we say that the person has a green eye, we actually refer to the color of the iris. The other thing is the iris controls the amount of light entering into the eye. So whenever you see, just bring in front of a person, just take the torchlight in front of a person. If you take the torchlight closer to the person, you see how the shape of the pupil, the size of the pupil changes. Take the torch away from the person's eyes and see how the size of the pupil is changing, and that who is regulating this size, who is regulating this entering of the light into the pupil? The iris. Clear? Here there is an activity which shows the thing. Look into your friend's eye. Observe the size of the pupil. Throw light on her eye with a torch. Observe the pupil now. Switch off the torch and observe her pupil once again. Do you notice any change in the size of the pupil? In which case was pupil larger? And why do you think it was so? So now I want you all to do this activity and mention it in the comment section, your observations, and along with the reason why do you think it is occurring. So in which case do you need to allow more light in the eye? When the light is dim or when the light is bright? When do we allow more light entering into the eye? This will help you to understand how the size of the pupil is changing. Okay. Now behind the pupil of the eye is a lens which is thicker in the center. So such lens which are thicker in the center is called convex lens. Okay. So you must have learnt about lenses in class 7. So in what did we do? We have studied that there are two types of lenses. One is a convex lens, the other is a concave lens. Convex lenses are thicker at the center. And in our eye, what kind of lens do we have? A convex lens, which is thicker at the center. All right. The lens focus light on the back of the eye, that is on the retina. So whatever light is falling on the lens, what does it do? It focuses it on the retina. So on the retina, the images are formed and it is sensed by the nerve cells present on the retina. And these nerve cells take those signals in the form of electric signals and takes it to the brain, and then brain sends these signals and makes an erect image of the object we want to see or whatever we are seeing around us. Okay, so retina contains several nerve cells. Sensations felt by the nerve cells are then transmitted to the brain. Through what? Through the optic nerve. So there are two kinds of cells. One is cone cells, other is rod cells. This also appears in your examination. Cone cells are sensitive to bright light and rod cells are sensitive to dim light. What is responsible to sense the color? The cone sense the color. Okay, at the junction of the optic nerve and the retina. So at this point where the optic nerve and the retina meets at the junction, there are no sensory cells. So if there is no sensory cells, then light cannot be sensed at that point. So no vision is possible at that spot. And that is why that spot is called blind spot. Is that clear to everyone? So this is the structure of a human eye and what are the parts of the human eye and what are its function and how does it enables us to see the image of the object around us. So since now we are clear with the structure of our eye and its functions, let us now understand a little bit more about eye, like the impression of image in our eye. The impression of an image does not vanish immediately from the retina. It persists for about 1/16th of a second. So if still images of a moving object are flashed on the eye at a rate of faster than 16 per second, then eye perceives this object as moving. All right. So here there is an activity which explains a similar thing. You see, in this activity, what is the person doing? Get a square piece of cardboard of size 6 to 8 centimeter. Make two holes as shown in figure 13.6. As you can see, he has made two holes in it. Okay. Thread a string through the two holes. Paste a cage on one side of the cardboard and a bird on the other side, and then twist the string and make the card swirl rapidly. Now what you're going to observe, you will see as if the bird is inside the cage, though the bird is not inside the cage. The bird is at the back side of the paper and the cage is on the front side of the paper or the cardboard. But when you are turning it, twirling it with such a speed that it's 16 per second, it is seen, it is perceived by an eye that the object, the bird, is inside the cage. Okay. So nature has provided our eyes with eyelids. And why do we have eyelids? Nothing that is given to us is, without any use. They all have some purpose. Each and every part of a human body has a purpose. So to prevent any object from entering the eye, eyelids also shut out light when it is not required. When we need to give some rest to our eyes, what do? We shut our eyelids. Eye is such a wonderful instrument that it normal can clearly see distant objects as well as objects nearby. So you can see distant objects, objects at a far distance, and you can also see nearby objects. The minimum distance at which I can see objects distinctly varies with age. Yes, obviously, as we age, you see our eye starts having problem. Okay, the most comfortable distance at which one can read with a normal eye is 25 centimeters. So this is the minimum distance. If you bring an object closer to your eye, which is lesser than 25 centimeter, you can still see that object, but you will feel a bit stressed. So with a relaxed eye, comfortably we can see 25 centimeter and beyond. Okay. Some person can see objects close to them clearly, but they cannot see objects which are far away. So this kind of defect is called short-sightedness. On the other hand, some person cannot see objects that is near, but they can see the objects that is far away. So this is called long-sightedness. Okay. And with suitable corrective lenses, these defects can be corrected. Okay. So short-sightedness and long-sightedness are the defects of eye. Sometimes, particularly in old age, eyesight becomes foggy. Why? It is due to the eye lens becoming cloudy. When it happens, person is said to have a disease called cataract. You must have heard your grandparents going through an operation for cataract, right? So there is a loss of vision in cataract, and sometimes it becomes extremely severe. It is possible to treat this defect. Okay, nowadays there are laser technologies, there are a lot of modern technologies which is very simple and easy, and it can cure this defect of cataract at that age. Okay, now let us see how we can take care of our eye. It is necessary that you take proper care of your eyes. If there is any problem where you should go to an eye specialist, right? Have a regular checkup. If advised, use suitable spectacles. Too little or too much light is bad for eyes. So you should always, whenever you are studying, there should be always adequate light in for you to study. Insufficient light causes eye strain and headache, and too much light like that of a sun, a powerful lamp or a laser torch can injure your retina. Do not look at the sun or powerful light directly. We should never look at them directly, right? Because they can damage our eye. Never rub your eyes. If some dust particle enters your eyes, just clean it with fresh water. Okay? Don't rub it. Just clean it with clean water. Always read at a normal distance for vision. Do not read by bringing a book too closer to your eyes, because that can be very stressful for your eye. All right. So we should take vitamin A food, which has a lot of vitamin A, because food which has a lot of vitamin A is very good for our eye. All right. So you have learnt about balanced diet in class 6. If food is sufficient in some components, deficient in some components, eyes may also suffer. Like if there is a lack of vitamin A in the food stuff, then it will cause a lot of eye problem. One of the most common problem is night blindness. So eat diet which has sufficient amount of vitamin A, like raw carrots, broccoli, green vegetables such as spinach, green vegetables such as spinach. All right, eggs, milk, curd, cheese, butter, fruit such as papaya and mango, they are all rich in vitamin A. Okay, now let us understand how visually impaired person can read and write. For this, we have a special device which is called Braille system. Okay, now this Braille, this was discovered by Louis Braille. Braille was himself a visually challenged person. Okay, he developed a system for visually challenged person and published in 1822. And this system is called the Braille system. Okay. Now, when what was the present system was adopted in 1932, there is a Braille code for common languages like mathematics, and there are some scientific notation. So many Indian languages can be read using the Braille system. How does it look like? You can see in this figure, a Braille system has 63 dot patterns or characters. Each character, they represent a letter or a combination of letters, a common word, or a grammatical sign. Okay, dots are arranged in cells of two vertical rows. You see, one vertical row, second vertical row. So in this way, dots are arranged. Okay, patterns of dots represent some English letters and some common words. For example, if there are two dots like this, then it is C. If there's a single dot raised, then it is A. If it is something like this, then T. So the person will just touch and understand that this is the word cat. Okay. Same way over here, there are multiple things again. So these dots are raised slightly so that the visually impaired person or the visually challenged person can touch and understand what is written. Okay. So visually impaired people learn the Braille system by beginning with letters, then they learn about the special characters, the letter combinations, then methods depend upon recognition by touching. Each character has to be memorized. Braille text can be produced by hand or by machine. Typewriter-like devices and printing machines have now been developed to, you know, produce such Braille system. All right, so that's all for the day, and the solution will be uploaded soon. The solution to the exercise will be uploaded soon. So please subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. Thank you.